When it comes to the NFL, your job is earned and not given. Just because you have had a good season in the past or have shown potential does not mean you are your team's long-term starter for the future. Going into 2022, a few starting QBs could be on the hot seat and could potentially lose their starting job in the future. In this video, I will be diving deep into who those QBs are, how they can keep their jobs, and who are some potential replacements for them. These past couple of off seasons have proved that teams are not afraid to move on from mid-level QBs. I mean, look at the Eagles and the Rams a couple of off seasons ago. They both had former top 2 picks, and within one off season, both of them were off their respective teams. Or even if you want to look towards this year, the Broncos knew that Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater were not the solutions. They then got a massive upgrade by trading for Russell Wilson. Same thing with the Browns. The team felt that Baker Mayfield was not working for them, so they went ahead and traded for Deshaun Watson. The trends from past off seasons could very easily continue in the next year. There are a few QBs where if they do not perform highly this upcoming season, then they could potentially lose their starting jobs. And the first one is Lamar Jackson. It's wild to think that a player who was unanimous MVP just 3 seasons ago could potentially be off his team a few years later. Jackson is entering the 5th and final year of his rookie contract, and ever since his stellar sophomore season, he has gotten progressively worse and worse. Now, there are a couple of factors to consider for his decline. He has had to deal with nagging injuries, along with some position rooms in the offense being subpar the past couple of seasons. But I don't think that it's unfair to say that Lamar himself was fairly bad individually this past season. His accuracy struggled this year. In 2021, Jackson was bottom 6 in on-target throw percentage among 33 eligible QBs, while also being 30th in pass attempts among those QBs. That is incredibly inefficient. And it's not like you can really blame the offensive line for the accuracy struggles. Jackson was in the top half of the league in terms of pressure percentage. But here's the thing, it's Lamar Jackson. He is a former unanimous MVP and is only 25 years old. If the Ravens let him go, then there are going to be at least 20 teams that go after him based off of talent and potential alone. So regardless of how he plays in 2022, he is going to have a starting job in 23, but just may not be with the Ravens. But what can Lamar do to not lose his starting job with Baltimore? Well, it's fairly simple. If he can stay healthy and improve his accuracy, then I think the Ravens will 100% be sold on him and give him a huge contract extension. Even if he doesn't do those things, I still think that it would be foolish for the Ravens to move on from such a young talent despite his recent struggles. Now, what are some replacements for Jackson if the Ravens do move on from him? Baltimore could attempt to do a tag and trade with Lamar, get some draft capital back, and then use it on one of the top QBs in the draft next year. You would save money, get more draft capital back, and still have a high quality quarterback for a team that will continue to contend for the next couple of seasons. It feels like this next QB has been on the hot seat ever since he was drafted, and that's Daniel Jones. The Giants gave Jones a pretty good indication of how they feel about him earlier this offseason. When New York declined Jones' 5th-year option, the message was clear for him. He is not a proven starter in the league, and he needs to earn his job. The Giants used the 6th overall pick on Jones in 2019 with the intention of him succeeding Eli Manning. And well, he has technically done that, just not very well. After having a fairly decent rookie season, Jones has gotten worse ever since then. The only thing that has improved for him over his first 3 seasons is his accuracy, and even then, it's not all that good. A big issue for him has been the ability to stay healthy. Since being named the full-time starter in 2020, Jones has suffered numerous injuries, including multiple injuries above the neck area, along with his legs getting beat up. Now, some could argue that since he's been injured so much, that's why he hasn't been performing well. but even when he's been fully healthy, his play has been incredibly subpar. Danny Dimes seriously has very few excuses this year. The Giants upgraded his offensive line, he has an arsenal of weapons to throw to, his defense got better, the team has one of the easiest strength of schedules, and he finally has a competent coaching staff and front office around him. It is up to him now to take the next step. How can he do that? Well, just play better. Duh. Jones' new head coach is former Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, and something that both Jones and Bills quarterback Josh Allen have in common is their mobility. I think Daboll will take advantage of this talent, and it can help Jones out immensely. Now, in terms of possible replacement for Jones, it's too early to tell how good or bad the team will finish. It's easy to say for them to draft a QB, but to give a specific one isn't possible at the moment. They could roll with Tyrod Taylor as a transition man for next year, or they could potentially be in the market for Baker Mayfield depending on how his future plays out. Another guy that really has zero excuses is Tua Tagovailoa. The Southpaw quarterback has been doubted ever since he got into the league, and now it's either put up or shut up for him in 2022. Tua has been an incredibly underwhelming quarterback so far. He's not bad, but for someone who was a top 5 pick, he has been playing nowhere close to it. He is just mildly adequate as a quarterback. But just like Jones, Tagovailoa has zero excuses. He has a great young offensive mind as his new head coach, and now has one of the best receivers in the league in Tyreek Hill. Pair that with other great weapons on the offense and a defense that has a lot of potential. The only thing that could hold the Dolphins back is the performance of Tua. So for Tua to prove himself as the Dolphins quarterback, he just has to get better at passing the ball. He had just 205 passing yards per game last year, which is not very good. The Dolphins could easily take advantage of yards after the catch with both Hill and Jalen Waddle, but then that would only bring upon the narrative of Tua only being good because of his weapons. If Tua and Mike McDaniels really want to prove the haters wrong, then they will air the ball out a ton this year. But if that fails, then they need to find a replacement for the Hawaiian signal caller. The Dolphins have 2 first-round picks in the upcoming 2023 draft. If Tagovailoa does not work out, then the team could easily use both of those picks to move up to the top of the draft and snag one of the top QBs. Another QB that could potentially be on the move again is Carson Wentz. Both the Eagles and the Colts let go of Wentz after very short tenures, and now in Washington, his leash could be even shorter. Wentz is the typical stat filler QB. While I don't think he is as bad as a lot of people are painting him to be, he is far from being one of the best QBs in the league, but he can still work as a starter. He has talent, but his fundamentals, football IQ, and his clutchness need to be fixed. Those were the main reasons why he failed with his prior clubs. He has a chance to revive his career with the Commanders this season, but I don't expect for them to be very lenient with him. Plus, if Wentz fails here, then there is a very low chance that another team will give him a shot at being a starting quarterback again. But something that separates Wentz and Washington from the other teams I mentioned is that the Commanders could potentially have their future QB already on the roster. Washington drafted UNC quarterback Sam Howell in the 5th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. And if you were to say that at this time last year, people would have called you crazy. Howell was one of the top 2 QBs going into the college football season and was projected to be a top 10 pick. If Wentz struggles, which he very well could, then Washington would have no trouble going with a cheaper option in Sam Howell, who you could argue has more upside than Wentz. So that's it for today's video. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. It goes a long way towards supporting me and this channel, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. Also, make sure you check out all my other social media links listed down in the description below. I have an Instagram, a TikTok, and a Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.